Hello friends, good evening everyone. Hello friends, good evening everyone. And welcome to SAMYAK Online. Can you hear me? आवाज़ आ रही है मेरी? चलिए. So we shall start our session from today. Due to some technical issues, the class got delayed a little. So our apologies to the students. Now friends, चलिए शुरू करते हैं हम आज का डिस्कशन. जस्ट अ कंफर्मेशन फ्रॉम योर साइड, आवाज़ सबको मेरी आ रही है? प्लीज आंसर मी ताकि आई कैन लुक एट यू and check your comments. Fine. तो फ्रेंड्स देखो, आज हम एक नया चैप्टर शुरू करते हैं, ठीक है ना. एंड वी शैल बी कवरिंग द लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एंड अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड इन दैट चैप्टर ओनली, ठीक है ना. तो हम अपने डिस्कशन को आगे बढ़ाते हैं फ्रॉम अ न्यू चैप्टर, एंड द चैप्टर्स नेम इज Fiscal policy, right? And you see, this is one of the most important chapters of the whole economic discussion. इस चैप्टर को अगर आप शुरू में एक बार कर लेते हैं, right, the other concepts regarding the government, regarding the budgeting etc. is very very clear. तो आपको आगे चलने में बहुत हेल्प मिलती है, ठीक है ना. दोस्तों आज हम शुरू करते हैं हमारे इस चैप्टर का नाम, जो एक अच्छा खासा बड़ा चैप्टर है और सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चैप्टर इसको आप कह सकते हैं इन द इंडियन इकोनॉमी. सी स्टार्ट द डिस्कशन फ्रॉम द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड फिस्कल. आपने बहुत सुना होगा इसके बारे में, बहुत बार चर्चा में आया होगा. फिस्कल पॉलिसी आई है, बजट आया है, ये आया है, वो आया है, घाटा लग गया, देयर इज ए डेफिसिट एटसेट्रा. All those concepts which you have been hearing for last many years as a common man, as a common student, कि सरकार का बजट आया, घाटा आया, उन सब के बारे में जो टेक्निकल इंफॉर्मेशन आपको इस चैप्टर में मिलने वाला है. The word fiscal comes from the Latin word meaning fiscus, and this means the ट्रेजरी. ट्रेजरी का मतलब क्या होता है? या आयुष, आई टोल्ड यू दैट आई विल बी कवरिंग दैट टॉपिक इन दिस चैप्टर ओनली, इज इट नॉट? जो हमारा लास्ट पार्ट था ऑर्गेनाइज्ड अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड, उसको हम इस चैप्टर में करेंगे. द आइडिया इज कि एक बार आपको इसकी फील दे दें, उसके बाद हम इसी चैप्टर में वी शैल बी कवरिंग द टॉपिक ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एंड अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड, ठीक है ना. एंड एवरीवन, सो वी आर एक्चुअली प्रोसीड द नेक्स्ट चैप्टर. हम नेक्स्ट चैप्टर की ओर जा रहे हैं. So we are in the chapter of fiscal policy, and the fiscal policy, the word fiscal comes from the word fiscus, right? And the fiscus means the treasury, matlab khazana, right? You can say the government treasury. Now suppose someone tells you the fiscal policy is equal to the fiscus policy or the treasury policy. What is the thing that comes to your mind? Suppose we talk about the policy of a treasury, it means what? We are going to study and discuss how the treasury, how the government resources, reserves are filled, withdrawn, used, etc. How does the government earns its resources? Where does the government spend its resources? And you see, not always the receipts and the income of the government would be equal to the expenditures. In some point of time, there would be a situation where the income may be lesser than the expenditures. In that case, the government would be facing some deficits, some losses which would have to be fulfilled by borrowings, right. So we shall be covering all these aspects in the most technical and the precise way in the chapter of fiscal policy. This would bring you closer to the government finances. This will bring closer you to the points of the government and the budget. Is that clear? Yes or no? Now, coming to the fiscal policy once again, let us start our discussion from the word economics. We saw in the first lecture about the economics. It means the study of the resources, right? This is the study regarding the resources and the human behavior with regard to the use of that resource that we have seen. Am I clear? Now, in this study we have a subject within the economics that is known as the finance. You see, we have a ministry called finance ministry. What is the real purpose of finance ministry, or what is the word finance? See, finance actually is a term which is linked to money, जिसको हम हिंदी में वित्त कहते हैं. We call that वित्त मंत्रालय आपने सुना होगा. So, we are actually now coming to a sub-subject under economics known as the finance. It is a study regarding the money. It is a study regarding how someone earns, where it spends, how does it fulfills the gap, etc. And suppose you have a income source which is more than the expenditure. When the income is more than the expenditure, what you do? You try to invest the money somewhere to make it more profitable. So, everything regarding how the money has to be earned, how the money has to be spent, how the deficits have to be managed, and how the surplus is to be managed. It is a study under the finance, right? So, whenever someone says कि वो finance पढ़ रहे हैं, इसका मतलब क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? वो they are trying to understand how to get money, how to earn, how to spend, how to save, how to manage the borrowings. Am I clear? So, coming to finance, it has two dimensions. One is the private finance, other is the public finance. Now, coming to the private finance, it means that how a company is managing its finance, how a company is trying to earn, how it is trying to save, spend, etc. All the economic decisions they are taking regarding a private sphere, a company, individual, comes under the private finance. But we are actually coming here on the public finance. Yes or no? Got the, see Lokesh, the bills have a different connotation at the different times, is it not? You see, finance is a study regarding the money, right? Am I clear? So, when we talk about the finance, it is a study under economics where we see at times what we do. Finance also talks about the government bills, the bonds and the other instruments, they all are the money. Got it? The point is, at times what the government does, they use money in a very narrow sense, that is they say currency, expenditure, but the finance is a study by which we also manage to take care of the bills, the bonds, because they all are a part of money. You see, what is the money first of all? Let us come to the money part. What is the money, you think? What is the money? Can anyone define money? Money is actually an instrument by which we can transact. It has a unit of account. So, an instrument having a unit of account which can be used for the economic transactions is a money, right? So, money can be currency that we see, the currencies, the the coins, etc. And secondly, the other instruments are also money. So, everything regarding that comes under finance. Am I clear? So, finance is a broader term, it is a bigger term than the money. Got it? It is used at times in a narrower sense, that is a different thing, but technically in the point of economy, what we say, it is a study with regard to something which is used in the modes of transaction, which is a unit of account, is it not? So, everything that deals with money is studied under finance. It means how a company raises its resources. Am I clear? So, how does a company raises its resources? How does a company spends its resources? How does a company manages its deficits? How does a company manages its surplus? It is all a part of the study under the finance. Am I clear? You see, what does the finance ministry do? It takes care of the need of all the ministries, right? The Department of Economic Affairs make the budget. Look at here, under the Ministry of Finance, under the Ministry of Finance, what we have? We have a Department of Economic Affairs, which makes the union budget, is it not? We have a Department of Revenue, Department of Expenditure, Department of Financial Services, is it not? So, what does the Ministry of Finance do? It is a wider term, because finance itself is a wider term. The finance talks about the expenditure. How does the government as a whole will manage expenditure, reduce the expenditure? Department of Revenue, how does the total ministries and the government will raise the revenues through the bonds, the bills, the exchanges and the other modes of income. Then they make a budget and they also look after the banking part. This Department of Financial Services, this looks after the banking part, is it not? So, am I clear to everyone that the finance is a bigger term studying about the total transaction regarding the money, the expenditures, the revenues, the financial services and the budget, etc. What is the budget? We shall be coming to that part in a very short time. Am I clear everyone? So, coming back to our discussion, यहाँ तक सबको clear है that we have seen that finance actually is talking about how the money is to be raised, to be spent, to be saved, to be invested, etc. Is it not? And we all means we individuals, the companies and the government, they undertake all these things at a daily regular basis. So, what we have a private finance where a private entity would be looking after the various aspects of the money, right. And secondly, we have a public finance where what we have, the public finance would mean that how does a government plans to raise, spend, manage and invest their money. And money, I repeat, is a broader term regarding the various instruments to manage its own funds, is it not? So, I hope this is clear to everyone. So, we are going to study public fiscal policy under the public finance. Now, have a look once again. Broad study is economics. Now, tell me one thing, the economics we have seen in the first lecture is about the study of resources. Water is a resource, spectrum is a resource, coal is a resource, say oil and gas is a resource, and we have money as a resource. Am I clear? Because all these resources are used in the development of an economy, yes or no? A country may not have lot of coal and spectrum, but they have oil and gas, strong economy because they have a huge resource of oil and gas. A nation which may not have these resources would try to manage through their money other resources. So, under the economics we have a study of how to produce and sell oil and gas, how to talk about this thing, and again the study regarding the money management, right. That is the finance, and this finance has a element called public finance. Yes or no, everyone? So far we have the three disciplines. We have the economics, the finance, and the public finance. These are the study at different levels. Am I clear, everyone? So these are the studies at different levels. This is particularly with regard to the government resources, the government money, how the government raises the money, etc. Yes or no? Now, after having seen the study, right, what we do? After having studied, we practice, right? Yes or no? So when we practice something, what we do? We make a policy, right? Suppose the government says that we want to launch a digital payment system. वो क्या करेंगे? They will launch a policy as to how our digital payment system will go. Suppose the government says that what is a policy? First of all, policy is a broad framework as to what the government plans to do in the near and the upcoming future. Am I clear? Whatever the government plans to perform, the whole framework regarding that performance, the whole framework regarding the course of action in the middle and the long term is a part of the policy. We have a export policy, or say EXIM policy, export import policy. It means what? That how we are going to plan our exports, imports would be a part of the EXIM policy. We have a telecom policy. It means what? That how we are going to develop our telecom sector. We have a health policy. We have a new education policy. Yes or no? So this policy is about the course of action and the framework regarding the action of the government. And similarly, we have a fiscal policy, and we have a monetary policy. The governments run, the governments plan, the governments execute their decisions not randomly. They have a broad policy that, see, this is my policy, I would be running my economy, I would be running my government and my country on these broad frameworks. That is my fiscal policy. Am I clear to everyone? So fiscal policy is our topic, and I hope that the background regarding the fiscal policy is clear to everyone, that where does the term fiscal policy comes to picture, because we have just seen that in the public finance this is up to the study. After we study, we execute, and we execute by making the policies known as the fiscal policy. And the fiscal comes from the word fiscus, which means treasury. So the policy with regard to the government treasury is the fiscal policy that we are going to study in the coming chapter, which is very important. Yes or no, everyone? Please confirm me that you have understood this point of the economics and the finance, public finance and the fiscal policy well, because these are the foundational words which has to be kept in mind before we proceed, that what are the other aspects. Am I clear? Everyone? Fine. Now, fiscal policy is a broad framework of action, right, with regard to our treasury, is it not? See, we will have a definition of fiscal policy, but to be very precise, what could be the fiscal policy? Can we say that it is a broad framework of action with regard to the government treasury? Can we say this is a fiscal policy? Yes or no? Yes. Now, when we say government treasury, the government earns from tax, the government earns from various interests on the loans given to states or the other countries. The government earns from the profits from the shares they have held in the various companies like SBI. The government also spends on the various development projects. So, can I say the fiscal policy is a policy with regard to the government taxation, the government earnings, the government spending and the deficits and the surpluses, because not always the income would be equal to the expenditure. At times the income would be lower than the expenditures, leading to the deficits, right? And the second is, the same case can be, the income can be higher than the expenditure, which may be leading to surplus. Am I clear? So, see, this is the most technical precise definition of fiscal policy, that is the broad framework of action with regard to the treasury is the fiscal policy, but in the books otherwise you find a very basic definition which say that the policy with regard to the tax, income, expenditure, deficits and surpluses is also a definition of fiscal policy. Yes or no? Am I clear? Suppose the question comes, suppose in say 15 words, you can write this definition 100% correct. This is the most basic and precise definition. See, this is actually explanation. ये क्या है? Explanation है इसी बात का, right? तो आप देखो, if I talk about fiscal policy, it's about what the government plans to do in the near future, long term, with regard to its own treasury, and precisely this is the what fiscal policy is all about. Am I clear? Now, let's proceed ahead to the deeper waters of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, so far we have understood that it's a policy with regard to the treasury. सरकार को पैसा मिलता भी है, पैसा जाता भी है. Now, assume that this is a government treasury. This is how the money comes, right? And this is how the money goes, right? The money comes through taxes, the most important source of revenue of the government. The money comes from the various interests that we have just seen, the loans given to the other states, right? Yeah, the notes you will get, you will have the definitions, otherwise you can also note at your own end. आयुष आप वहाँ भी इसको नोट कर सकते हैं, because see जो भी अभी लिख रहा हूँ मैं वो सब कुछ आपको मिल जाएगा, ठीक है ना? तो जो भी मैं लिख रहा हूँ मैं सब आपको लिखा हुआ मिल जाएगा in the PDF form. Fine. Everything that is on the board would be available to you, not to worry. So, the money we receive, or the government treasury receives through the taxes, the interests, and say I told you that dividends. Suppose you have shares of a company, right? The company announces some dividends, right? Ki now my shareholders will be getting say 2 rupees per share as a dividend. So, government has lot of shares in the, or majority shares in the government companies, right? You can also own the shares in the government companies, but government has a major share, and whatever the dividend is paid by the companies is a part of the government own receipts, the money it receives. So, the government receives through interests, dividends, taxes, say penalties, is it not? They receive through the various aid and the grants given to India by the foreign nations and the institutions. So, this is the broadly how the government gets its money. Am I clear? Apart from all this, you see, we have a term called disinvestment. You must have heard of term that government is planning to sell some stake in LIC. The government is planning to sell some stake in Air India, BPCL and some other companies. So, when the government sells partially its own holding in the open market, government gets some money. That is a part of the disinvestment. You see, to memorize, you can see that we put money in a gold instrument, that is investment one. We park money with the shares, that is investment. Reverse that, sell shares, get money, that is disinvestment. The government is selling a stake in some companies to garner some money, that is the disinvestment, and that also is a part of the government. See, I will come to the point, the difference between receipts and revenue. I will come to that, right. Abhi ke liye it is all the government, how government receives the money, right. Now, these are the various areas from where the government receives the money, and the expenditures of the government is in the various areas like the subsidies, the food subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, etc. Subsidies, then we have the defense, then we have the whole public administration, the salaries of the officers, management of the various buildings, parliament, etc. Then we have the various, say, interest payments. The government borrows money from the other nations, they have to pay some interests over there. So, you see, if you look at the broad perspective, what you see? You see that the treasury receives money from these various sources, and whatever the money is collected here in the treasury is spent on the various areas, and this is what actually the finance ministry does. They try to manage the receipts, the expenditures. If there is a deficit, they try to manage that. The money should not be less to mobilize, and there should not be less money to promote development. So, this is all the finance ministry does under the fiscal policy through the budget, right. So, budget is what? Budget is a instrument. Budget is an instrument. Budget is an account of the estimated expenditures and the money which is expected to come in a given fiscal year. Now, suppose I talk about a fiscal year. I say, assume that we are in the month of August 2021. So, what is this year all about? Say financial year begins with April 1st, ends up to by 31st March of the next year. So, in this year we have 2021, this is 2022, yes or no? See, we have Rohan covered all the parts, and the last part was remaining. I told you, after late aaya Rohan, I told you that the last part of the organized and unorganized would be covered in this chapter. Yes or no? Everyone got it? Done? So, April 1 and 2021 to 31st March 2022. This is the financial year that we are talking of. So, in this given year, for this given year, a document is prepared by Department of Economic Affairs and presented before the Parliament by the Finance Minister, that is known as the Union Budget. Am I clear, everyone? So, when we talk about the Union Budget, this is the instrument under the fiscal policy to execute the objectives of the fiscal policy. Am I clear, everyone? So you see, in this year, whatever expected government has written कि इतना पैसा मेरा खर्च होगा, this much money would come to me. So the difference is the deficit, the difference is the surplus, and how this will the way to manage the things would be a part of the whole union budget. Am I clear? Now, यहाँ तक सबको क्लियर है एवरीवन? फिस्कल पॉलिसी आई एम गोइंग वेरी बेसिक्स, यू नो, ताकि आपको एक अच्छा फंडामेंटल रहेगा लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए. यस और नो एवरीवन? नाउ सम मोर टर्म्स हियर that we have to know is the receipt, and revenue. See, receipt is whatever is received, revenue is whatever is earned. Yes or no? Now, what is the difference between the received and the earned? You see, in a given year, it is possible that government receives or earns, say government earns 1 lakh crores, earns 1 lakh crore, and the expenditure is supposed to be, for example, 1,20,000 crores. This is the case. In this case, 20,000 crores is the expected deficit with the government, right? What they do? They would go to the market and say, please give us the money. They will borrow the money from the market. Yes or no? When they borrow money from market, that comes to the government funds. But is that the revenue? Is it? No. That is a part of the receipt, not the revenue. Because that money is received, that's true, in a given year. But that is not a part of the revenue, that is not earned, that is borrowed. And that is why, you see, we have to discriminate between the qualities of a money with revenue and receipt. And that is why, talking of the fiscal policy, we write two terms here. This fiscal policy talks about one, that is the receipt, the total amount of money that is coming in a given year. It may be the revenue, it may be the borrowings, anything, the money that is to be received in a given financial year. And the second is the expenditure, which actually means whatever money is out of the government pocket for the given year. So, it is the total money in, it is the total money out in a given year that is managed through the budget under the fiscal policy. Now, we further divide the receipts and expenditure into two broad parts. See, all the receipts can be written as, can be seen as two parts. One is the revenue receipt, other is the capital receipt. It is very important for the objective paper. The questions do often come that what are the receipts as the revenue receipt, right? आपको याद नहीं करना पड़ेगा. Understand what I am trying to say. This box is giving us the revenue receipt. This box is about capital receipt. This box is about revenue expenditure, and this is about the capital expenditure. everyone, what revenue receipt is all about? A receipt which is actually the, you can say, income of the government which is recurring in nature. Income of the government of recurring in nature is actually the revenue receipt. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? You see, the revenue receipt actually is of two types. It means what? We are discussing that this part of the fiscal policy or the budget itself is of two types. Types क्या हैं? One is the tax, other is the non-tax. All the revenue receipts by way of income tax, corporation tax, GST, custom, etc. is a part of the tax revenue receipt. So, what is the non-tax? The income of the government which is not from tax, but it is an income which is recurring, which happens every quarter or the year, is the non-tax revenue receipt. For example, we discussed about the interests received on the loans given to states or some other country. Possible? The dividends received on the profit of companies, the penalties you pay, late income tax, you have to pay a penalty as well, is it not? So, the penalties are a part of the revenue income of the government which is not of the tax nature. And yes, all the grants and aid received by the government which is a part of the government's own income is a part of the revenue receipt of the government of India. Am I clear to everyone? So, this revenue receipt is a receipt which is purely of the income of the government. Am I clear? And that income comes through these sources, the tax and the non-tax. Suppose the question comes, which of the following is a part of the revenue receipt? करना क्या आपको? ये देखो कि क्या टैक्स है या नॉन टैक्स है. If the receipt of the government is of any of the tax nature or the nature of the interest, dividend, penalty or some grant or some gift, etc., it's a part of the revenue receipt. Yes or no, everyone, please confirm me. Right? Now, coming to the capital receipt, right? अब इस पे आएगा सुरेंद्र, इसमें आएगा वो, ठीक है, जो लिखा आपने वो इसमें आएगा, इसमें आएगा. Now, see, the point is you can define any way, right? When I say income, Lokesh, ठीक है ना? When you say income का मतलब क्या है? Any income that comes to you does not create any liability, is it not? Am I clear? अगर आप ये डेफिनेशन भी समझ जाओगे तो बाकी आप कुछ भी अपने मन से बना सकते हैं जो सही हो, राइट? व्हेन आई से कि द इनकम और रेवेन्यू of recurring nature is the part of the government revenue receipts. You can say that this is a non-debt creating receipt, yes or no? This does not create liabilities, that's true, right? But see, this money can be used to create assets, yes or no? See, receipts, how would they create assets? Receipts are made by selling assets, is it not, Lokesh? Got it? So, receipts are already made by selling the assets. So, receipts actually are the money received through selling their assets or by earning through the various sources. Am I clear, everyone? Now, so I hope this is clear to everyone so far. Revenue receipt. Coming to our next part, capital receipt. Yes or no? Now, everything that is not a part of revenue is a part of capital. One thing is this, कि जो कुछ भी इसका पार्ट नहीं होगा वो इसका पार्ट अपने बन जाएगा. पहली बात तो ये सिंपल सी बात है. Suppose the question comes, which of the receipts is not a part of, or which of the receipts is a part of the revenue or capital. तो कैपिटल में आप उन सबको डाल दीजिए जो रेवेन्यू का पार्ट नहीं है. अगर आप एक भी याद कर लोगे तो काम आपका हो जाएगा. ठीक है ना, पहली बात तो ये. यस और नो? तो वन aspect to reach to this part capital is exclude all the revenue जो हमने देख लिया कि टैक्स एंड नॉन टैक्स में जो भी आता है, जो recurring नेचर का है, जो एनुअली क्वार्टरली हमें मिल जाता है. बट कमिंग टू कैपिटल प्रिसाइजली, यू सी any receipt that is of the nature of the capital, that is something, the money which adds your money, right? When we say it's a capital, capital is that form of money which adds money on itself, is capital. Yes or no? So, capital is that money which adds money onto itself, is the capital. Got it? So, anything which is of the nature of a capital, right, which can add on money, which can subtract on money, could be a part of the capital receipts. कैसे हो देखो आप. Capital receipt, right? Thank you राज कुंद्रा. ठीक है ना. Then see what is the capital receipt. Look at here. The point is, suppose the government sells its share, right? Now tell me, the share you have invested, right? We expect that the share is increasing day by day. So I put 100 rupees into a share and that money would be appreciated with the passing day. So is a share not a part, is a form of capital? Yes. So whatever money I received by selling my shares, is it not a receipt known as the capital receipt? Tell me. Because you see, I just discussed the definition of capital, a form of money which adds to its own self. Is that clear? जो पैसा खुद ब खुद ऐड करे, अपने आप को इंक्रीज करे, उसको हम कैपिटल के फॉर्म में जानते हैं. यस और नो? So when I sell my shares in the open market and I get the money, that is known as the disinvestment proceeds. Is it not a capital receipt? One thing, tell me everyone. Yes or no? Now we shall cross check with the earlier definition. Why this is not a revenue receipt? Because one thing is, see, this is my money coming back to me. Yes or no? Is it not? And secondly, see, the point is, suppose I sell gold. I had the gold of 10,000 rupees. I sold the gold and got the cash of 10,000 rupees. Is this my income or just a change in the form of my investment? If I had the gold of 10,000 rupees, the metal, I sold the gold and got the cash, is it my income? No, it's only the change of the property or the capital I was holding. I had the metal, I have the cash. Is it not? So disinvestment is what? I had the shares, I sold the shares, I got the cash. Before cash, I had the shares. So it's only a change of the form of the capital I was holding. It's not an income, one point. And secondly, it's not recurring. You cannot sell a share multiple times, right? So it is not fulfilling the definition of the revenue receipt either, and that is why also it's a capital receipt. Yes or no, everyone? Got it? So this investment proceeds that the government receives, right, is the receipt which is known as the capital receipt. Got it? Now we had given loans to a state or a foreign country. Got it? The loans that we had given to a foreign country or a state, I have given, suppose the Indian government gives a loan of 10 lakh rupees to any other state or the government, fine, and they pay back 12 lakh rupees. So what we have? We have the 10 lakh rupees as the principal amount and 2 lakh rupees as the interest amount. Yes or no? Now the 2 lakh rupees that the government has received is the interest. This has to be accounted under the revenue receipt where we have written the interest received, right. So 2 lakhs would be written here, and the next 10 lakh rupees would be under the capital receipt. I received 12 lakh rupees, 10 लाख का लोन दिया था, 2 लाख का ब्याज था, 12 लाख मुझे मिल गए. 2 लाख कहाँ लिखा? रेवेन्यू में. 10 लाख कहाँ लिखा? कैपिटल में, बिकॉज कैपिटल क्या मेरा प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट है, बिकॉज माई प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट इज माई मनी दैट हैज द कैपेबिलिटी टू एड इनकम टू माई पॉकेट. यस और नो? गॉट इट? So the money that I have lent to a country, it is coming back to me. 10 plus 2. 2 is the interest, 10 is the capital, 10 is the principal. Is my principal amount not my capital? Tell me. See, there is no confusion, Lokesh. Pay attention here. Any questions किसी को? So what I write here in the capital receipt, the point is I write the principal amount received. Can I say this? Everyone please ask me questions. कोई डाउट हो तो, एंड प्लीज फोकस करें यहाँ पर, वरना चैट बॉक्स में आपके चैट से आपको कंफ्यूजन बढ़ जाएगा. राइट? फोकस ऑन द कंटेंट, बाकी सारी बातें हम बाद में कर लेंगे. राइट? इज दिस थिंग हियर क्लियर टू एवरीवन? सी, इज द रेवेन्यू रिसीट क्लियर? Revenue receipt, we have seen that the receipt that comes to us through the sources of income, tax and non-tax. One. Now what is the capital receipt? Capital का मतलब है that is the receipt that is coming to me which has not come through the revenue, you can say the one thing. And secondly, the receipts which actually are the nature of the what? Capital. So one thing is disinvestment proceeds, that is the money that I have received through sale of my shares. Is that not a capital receipt? Please tell me, answer me. बताइए मुझे, अब फिर आगे बढ़ेंगे. Everyone. And second is the principal amount received on the loans I had lent to some other state or some other country. Should I repeat? Please tell me. It's very clear and simple. There is no case of any confusion in any of the cases. ठीक है ना? Fine. Now tell me. Fine. Look at here. We are discussing the receipts part. Receipt, revenue. In the revenue we saw the tax, the interest, etc. ठीक है ना? See, देखो जसवंत, हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? हम आपकी बात नहीं कर रहे, हम सरकार की बात कर रहे हैं. गॉट इट? सरकार ने किसी को 10 लाख का लोन दिया, फाइन, अगले साल वो पैसा 12 लाख आ गया सरकार के पास, गॉट इट। 12 में 2 लाख सरकार का इंटरेस्ट रिसीव है और 10 लाख को खुद का पैसा है, गॉट इट। 2 लाख कहाँ गया, इंटरेस्ट में लिखा गया। 10 लाख कहाँ गया, प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट रिसीव्ड में लिखा गया। कोई प्रॉब्लम किसी को? ये आपकी बात नहीं हो रही कि आपने कितना दिया, गॉट इट। गवर्नमेंट वुड बी गेटिंग 12 लाख रुपीज नेक्स्ट ईयर। मान लो आज इस साल सरकार ने, लास्ट ईयर 2020-21 में सरकार ने लोन दिया था 10 लाख रुपए का, ठीक है ना, समझ गए आप सभी? वेरी सिंपल। तो सरकार ने जो 10 लाख का लोन दिया था किसी को, उस पर 12 लाख मिला सरकार को। तो हम क्या हम बात कर रहे हैं सरकार के बजट की, हम सरकार के रिसीट की बात की। सरकार ने पैसा कहां से कमाया, पैसा कहां से आया बजट में? तो पता लगा कि पैसा 12 लाख आए थे। कहां से आए थे? 12 लाख में 2 लाख तो इंटरेस्ट से आए थे, 10 लाख कहां से आए थे? वो मेरा अपना पैसा था जो मैंने लोन दिया था। अब सबको क्लियर है? एवरीवन डन? तो 2 लाख रुपीस मुझे मिला था ब्याज से, 10 लाख मुझे मिला था मेरे अपने पैसे से, यहां लिख दिया, गॉट इट। पता लगा सरकार को जो रिसीट आई थी किसी साल, वो थी 34 लाख करोड़, राइट। सो वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट कि यार पैसा कहां से आया, इतना सोर्स क्या है पैसे का। तो पता लगा कि सरकार को इनकम टैक्स से 5 लाख करोड़ आया, लिख दिया यहां पर इनकम टैक्स में। पता लगा कॉरपोरेशन टैक्स से 6 लाख करोड़ आया, वो भी लिख दिया यहां पर। फिर पता लगा इंटरेस्ट सरकार ने कमाया 2 लाख करोड़ का, वो भी लिख दिया यहां पर। पता लगा जो लोन दिया था लास्ट ईयर, उसका मूलधन वापस आ गया, प्रिंसिपल आ गया, उससे आ गया 10 लाख। तो दिस इज हाउ वी अंडरस्टैंड कि अच्छा पैसा सरकार को ऐसे ऐसे मिला इस साल। कैसे सुनो? कुछ सरकार को किससे मिला होगा? थ्रू द डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट। द गवर्नमेंट सोल्ड इट्स शेयर्स। The government said, see, I received 2 lakh crores from selling of my shares to the open market. So, as a whole, we got to know that the government received money through the tax, through the non-tax, through the disinvestment, through the principal received. Am I clear, everyone? Fine. So, this is the way, or these are the ways how the government expects to receive its money in the upcoming financial year. Everyone? सभी को? See, journey बहुत लंबी है. This chapter is the longest chapter. ठीक है ना? This is a very long chapter where we will be studying a lot of things regarding the government finances. So, please clear everything at the crystal clear clarity, so that you don't get too confused in the later stages, right? Because this will have a lot of things in this chapter. The T-bills will be coming, FRBM would be coming, and lot of the budget and the survey would be based upon this all discussion, right? So, don't hesitate to ask any question you have. Ask as much as you can. Fine? It should be relevant. That's the point. Got it? So, I hope this is clear to everyone regarding the one part of the receipts. So, receipt I say is the amount received in a given year. उस पे आऊंगा मैं. See, बजट मैंने बताया था अभी, आयुष मैंने बताया था कि बजट अगर देखें आप, मान लो हम बात करते हैं बजट की. बजट कब आता है? ठीक है ना? बजट एक्चुअली आता है 1 फ़रवरी को. और किसके लिए आता है? वो आता है अगले साल अप्रैल के लिए, राइट? मतलब अगले फाइनेंशियल ईयर. हालांकि महीना तो 2 ही महीने बाद है, बट द पॉइंट इज कि वो आता है अगले फाइनेंशियल ईयर के लिए. सो व्हाट दिस वुड बी, Ayush, of course estimated one, but to your question I'll add, जब बजट आता है ना, तो बजट डॉक्यूमेंट में we have three types of data, right? The BE, the RE and the actuals. Listen to this carefully. 2021 is the financial year, right? From 1st April to 31st March, and I take a month Feb from this year, 1st Feb. On 1st Feb, the finance minister presents the budget before the parliament and says that this is the budget for the upcoming year. The year is 2021-22 from 1st April to next year 31st March. In the budget 2021 presented in the previous financial year, this budget would contain the budget estimate for this one. Got it, Ayush? This would be the budget estimate for which year? The upcoming financial year. One. Coming to the RE. RE is what? This is the budget estimates. Budget estimates. RE is revised estimates. इसका मतलब क्या है? See, आज जब बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ है तो 1 फेब 2021 है और मार्च का महीना बाकी है और 1 अप्रैल से अगला फाइनेंशियल ईयर शुरू होने वाला है, राइट? नाउ दिस इज अ प्रीवियस फाइनेंशियल ईयर या फिर करंट कह लीजिए, और ये आने वाला फाइनेंशियल ईयर है. On the 1st Feb, we present a budget for the upcoming year. Similarly, for this year as well, budget would have been presented in the year 2019 or like that, is it not? तो ऐसा होगा that 2019-20, 2020-21, 21-22. इन दिस ईयर इस साल का बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ, हमने कहा उसका बजट एस्टिमेट. इस साल के फेब में भी इसका बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ होगा, बट अभी जब हम अगले साल का बजट पेश कर रहे हैं तो इस साल के बजट से करीब 8-10 महीने निकल चुके हैं. क्यों? इस साल का बजट पेश हुआ था कब? फेब 2020 में, राइट? तब से अभी तक अप्रैल, मई, जून, जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर, करीब 8-10 महीने निकल चुके होंगे जिस फेब में अगले साल का बजट हम प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं. So can I say that while I present the budget estimate for the next year, I have the revised estimate of this year 2021. Why? Because this budget was presented the last year, but in the last 8 months I have the revised data, right? Am I clear? Is it clear to everyone? So the 2021 will have a revised estimate. I'll just explain one more time that you see, इस साल का बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ 1 फेब 2020. इस साल का बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ 1 फेब 2021, राइट? अब इस साल का जो बजट था वो इस साल प्रेजेंट तो हुआ, और ये साल शुरू कब हो गया था? 1 अप्रैल को. तो 1 अप्रैल से 1 फेब तक का डेटा भी तो होगा कुछ, जो एक्चुअल डेटा होगा, राइट? So we can revise this data in the previous budget presented, and that is why we say that we have a revised estimate, everyone, and the 2019 एंड 2019-20 इसका तो अपने पास में एक्चुअल डेटा अवेलेबल है, बिकॉज दिस साल तो पूरा खत्म हो गया ना, दिस ईयर इज ओवर. सो द बजट डॉक्यूमेंट कंटेन्स 3 डेटा: द बजट एस्टिमेट ऑफ द अपकमिंग ईयर, द रिवाइज्ड एस्टिमेट ऑफ द करंट ईयर जिसमें अभी हम हैं फेब में, जो अगले साल का खत्म होगा, and the actuals of the previous year. Am I clear to everyone? Please ask questions if there is a doubt. Not to worry and hesitate. Tell me, is this clear to everyone? Right? We shall look at the union budget as well. वहाँ दिखेगा आपको. We have the 3 data: budget estimates, the revised and the actuals. Because you see, 2019-20 तो 1 अप्रैल से शुरू हुआ और 31 मार्च 2020 खत्म हो गया, ओवर, राइट. 2021 1 अप्रैल 2020 शुरू हुआ, 31 मार्च 2021 को खत्म होगा, और तब ये ईयर शुरू होगा. Now see, in this Feb budget presented for this year, still I don't have the total data of this year, and that is why I say only revised estimate, not the total data, because अभी भी इसके 1 महीना बाकी है ना, 2 महीने बाकी हैं. एक तो 1 फेब को बजट प्रेजेंट किया तो पूरा फेब बाकी है कि खर्च कितना होगा पता नहीं, या फिर कितना आएगा पता नहीं, एंड सेकेंडली मार्च भी पूरा बाकी है. सो 2021 का तो 2 महीना बाकी, इसीलिए इसका आर आएगा. बट दिस मंथ, दिस ईयर इज ओवर, इसका एक्चुअल आएगा. दिस इज रिमेनिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ 2 months, तो रिवाइज्ड आएगा बेस्ड अपॉन द 9 months discussion, and this would be the budget estimate. So the fiscal policy and the budget will be containing our what? 3 datas, that is the budget estimates, ठीक है ना, right. See what we do, budget ऐसे भी देखो हम एडवांस में बनाते हैं, ठीक है ना. We make a budget, right. आप हिंदू जब पढ़ेंगे ना, हिंदू में लिखा आता है कि now the expenditure has exceeded the targeted objectives. So we make a estimated budget कि देखो भाई इस साल हम इतना खर्च करने वाले, because पार्लियामेंट परमिट करेगा तभी तो पैसा निकलेगा. See, budget is not what the government can do. पार्लियामेंट की परमिशन जरूरी है, लोकसभा की परमिशन जरूरी है. तो गवर्नमेंट will present before the parliament under article 110 112 that this is my presentation. See, budget is nothing but a bill, it's a money bill, article 112. They will say to the parliament कि देखो भाई ये मेरा proposal है, यहाँ मुझे खर्च करना है, कि आप सहमत हैं? They would say हम सहमत हैं, वोट करो. Then pass the appropriation bill, and then the money comes to the ministries, right. So government would say what? He see, this is what I expect to spend in the upcoming days, so please allow me to do so, right. But suppose the expenditures they change because of the COVID, some unforeseen circumstances, so then the government would update the data. तो अगले साल क्या होगा, बजट जब प्रेजेंट करेगी वो, तो वो चेंज करेगी, विल से कि दिस इज व्हाट वी एक्सपेक्टेड एंड दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव गॉट. Got it, everyone? Am I clear? So we are clear, I hope, so far on this part, that the receipts are revenue and capital. Revenue includes tax and non-tax. This capital includes the disinvestment or the principal received on the loans given. One more entry will come which we shall see in the next class, right, because this will take a lot of time. So you see, होता ऐसा एक्चुअली, जिसको ऐसे समझो आप, एक्सपेंड बजट प्राइवेट एंड पब्लिक. एक बजट हम बनाते हैं अपने घरों में और एक सरकार बनाती है हमारे लिए. द मोस्ट बेसिक डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू बजट्स इज व्हेन वी मेक द बजट, हम पहले अपनी इनकम लिखते हैं, फिर अपने एक्सपेंडिचर को अकॉर्डिंगली प्लान करते हैं, बिकॉज वी डोंट हैव द वेरियस एवेन्यूज ऑफ एक्सपेंडिचर्स. गवर्नमेंट बजट में पहले सरकार अपने एक्सपेंडिचर लिखती है, उसके बाद पूछती कि पैसा कैसे आएगा बताओ. इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट के एक्सपेंडिचर्स हमेशा ज़्यादा होते हैं, बिकॉज दे हैव सम फिक्स्ड एक्सपेंडिचर्स. सैलरी है, इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट्स है, डिफेंस है, नेशनल सिक्योरिटी है, पोवर्टी एलिविएशन स्कीम्स है. एक्सपेंडिचर्स आर गवर्नमेंट्स डिसाइडेड अर्लियर, देन दे एक्चुअली प्लान कि अब खर्च तो कर दिया या करने वाले हैं, पैसा कहाँ से आएगा बताओ. एंड दैट इज़ वाई गवर्नमेंट के बजट में जो घाटा है, जो डेफिसिट्स है, इट्स अ यूजुअल रेगुलर फीचर. इज इट नॉट? बट वी डोंट हैव द ऑप्शंस ऑफ टैक्सेशन. गवर्नमेंट कैन से एक्सपेंडिचर ज़्यादा है, इनकम कम है, सरकार ने कहा ऐसा करो, पेट्रोल पर टैक्स बढ़ा दो, सेस बढ़ा दो. आप किस पे टैक्स लगाओगे बताओ? गवर्नमेंट ने इस बार पेट्रोलियम से बहुत पैसा कमाया, राइट. दे हैड द ऑप्शन, राइट. वी डोंट हैव द ऑप्शन. दैट इज व्हाई द डिफरेंस इज देयर इन द बजट मेकिंग प्रोसेस ऑफ द बोथ द पब्लिक एंड द प्राइवेट. एम आई क्लियर टू एवरीवन? एंड दैट इज व्हाई से यहाँ पे जो मैंने लिखा था, दिस एंट्री इज वेकेंट, बिकॉज यहाँ पे आएगा सरकार के द्वारा जो बोरो किया गया है, जो उधार लिया गया है. द बोरोविंग्स बाय द गवर्नमेंट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ द कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर, बिकॉज मनी हैज टू बी पेड बैक विथ इंटरेस्ट, राइट. सो बोरोविंग्स, द प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट रिसीव्ड, द डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट, दे ऑल आर अ पार्ट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट्स कैपिटल receipts, and the income tax, corporation tax, other profits are a part of the revenue receipts. Yes or no everyone? Got it? Any questions to anyone? In the next class we shall be covering the expenditures and the deficits. ठीक है ना? It will take some time लगेगा देखो अभी. It will take some time because it is a long course and we are discussing with all the details, right. So we are discussing with very fine details and that is why it will take some time, but it would be very sound, very sound proof course. उसके बाहर नहीं आएगा, सब कुछ आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा, ठीक है ना. विनोद, बोरो जब करते हैं आप तो पैसा लेते हैं देते हैं, उस साल के अकाउंट में पैसा आएगा या जाएगा? टेल मी. आपने बोरो किया तो उस साल पैसा आया या गया? यस और नो? आया ना? यस और नो? एक्सपेंडिचर्स व्हाट इज पेड, अगले साल जब दोगे तब लिखना उसको अपने एक्सपेंडिचर में. अभी तो पैसा आया ना आपके पास में. यस और नो विनोद? So, जिस साल पैसा आया है that is a part of the receipts of that year. Got it? जिस साल जाएगा और जो जाएगा वो कहाँ लिखेंगे आप? See, उस साल जिस हमने ये रिसीट लिखा है उस साल भी कुछ जाएगा पैसा, तो जो जाएगा उसको वहाँ लिखेंगे. Got it everyone? विनोद? Fine. So friends, we stop here for today. We shall meet tomorrow to discuss the other parts of expenditures and the deficits. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? चलिए. So thank you so much everyone. We stop here and we shall proceed with the next concepts. ठीक है ना? वी शैल बी कवरिंग, डोंट वरी, मैं दिखाऊंगा आपको बजट का पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट दिखाऊंगा आपको, डोंट वरी, ठीक है। वी हैव द थिंग्स प्रिपेयर्ड, तो आपको मैं कल जो है कल परसों में वी शैल बी कवरिंग द बजट डॉक्यूमेंट विद द डेटा। डन, चलिए, सो वी स्टॉप हियर फ्रेंड्स, मिलते हैं कल। थैंक यू सो मच, टेक केयर।